Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I have something really special lined up for you. Ever want to create a killer Power BI report tailored specifically for your mobile screen? Well, you're in luck. In this video I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to craft a Power BI executive level report optimized for mobile viewing. We'll be leveraging the latest features, including the new card visual, to compile a sleek and informative KPIs list, complete with actual versus target comparison and month-on-month insights. So before we dive in, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button to stay in the loop for latest business intelligence and data science projects. Now, grab a cup of coffee, sit back and watch. Okay guys, I have loaded some data to this dashboard, some KPIs records. Let's have a look quickly on the data. We have a date column that shows the records month by month for 4 different KPIs. We have the actual value, the planned value, and the percentage, which is actual divided by planned. So this is the data we have. Let's also convert this to percentage. Just click here from column tools on percentage sign. Now we have the values as percentage. Let's go back. As a start, we want to create few measures to get the information about the previous months for each of the KPIs. And to do that, we'll start by the actual percentage value. Let's right click, add a new measure. We'll see later how we're going to use those measures. So this measure basically calculates the actual value of the KPI, the percentage, for the previous month. So this is the first measure. Hit commit. Now we'll create another 2 measures to showing the previous values for the actual and for the planned. So again, right click, new measure, I have it ready, I'll paste. This is for the actual. Commit. Again for the planned, right click, new measure, commit. Now I want to create another measure to show the change between the previous month or the percentage and the current month. Again, we'll see how we're going to use all those measures in a minute. So right click, new measure. So I have the current, actual percentage, and I subtract from it the previous month actual percentage. Hit commit. Now let's put those measures in a table just to see the values, make sure everything is okay. I'll just select a table measure. I will add to it the KPI, the date. Let's convert the date without the hierarchy from here. And we can also change the date format to show only month and year from here. Column tools. We'll select month and year. Yeah, that looks better. Now let's add the actual. So this shows the actual value. Let's now check the actual previous month. So as you can see here, for April, the previous value will show March. For May, it will show April. So this, we'll use it later in the KPI cards. And the same thing for the percentage. You can see here the actual and the actual percentage previous value. Let's convert this also to percentage from measure tools. Click on percentage sign. So now we can see, we always see in this column the previous month, and finally for the planned, and finally the variance, the last measure we have created. I'll just place it next to the percentage. So this basically shows the change between the current month and the previous month. We need also to convert this to percentage from column tools, percentage. So as you can see here, it subtracts the current month from the previous month and shows the change. There's one more measure we need for now, is to show the direction of the change, and for that we're going to use unique character function. To do that, we need to get the codes for the arrows. I have a list ready for you. I'll share it in the description. So it basically, we need this code for the upper arrow, this one for the lower, and this one for the side. Let's go back to the dashboard and create the measure. Again, right click, new measure, and paste. So this an if statement based on the variance. If it's greater than 0, then the change shows the arrow up. If it's equal to 0, no change, it shows the side arrow. Otherwise, which means lower than 0, it will show the lower arrow. Hit comment. Let's add it to the table to see the values. I'll just place it here. As you can see, for example, for April, the previous month was higher than the current month, so the direction is down, and so forth. So now we can start with the KPI cards after setting up those measures. Let's start by removing this table. We don't need it anymore. And the first thing, I'm going to add a slicer. And for that, I will use the new slicer here and feed to it the date, the fields, and we can format it a little bit. Let's go to format your visual, slicer setting. We want to keep it as single select, and we want to activate the forced selection. We want always one value at least to be selected. Shape, we'll keep it as is. For the layout, we're going to have one row and 3 columns, so it will be enough to show on a mobile screen. Now we can reduce the size. Also, we can reduce the size between the cards. Let's now go to values. The default, we'll keep it in the center, and we'll have the text wrap activated. So if you reduce the size, it can go in 2 rows, as you can see here, so it will fit properly in mobile screen. And we keep everything as is. Now go to general, turn off the title, effect, remove the background. Maybe we can add borders and shadows. We'll select the color, put it inside, and center. So this is the first visual. There's one last thing. We want the order to be descending, the latest month first, and keep it selected. So we have the slicer ready. The next step is to use the new card visual. So click on the new card visual, and for that we're going to add 4 values, starting by the arrow, then the actual percentage, then we'll add the actual value and the planned value. Now let's format this. Go to format your visual, layout. We'll replace single row with grid. We'll have 2 rows and 2 columns. Now, as you can see, we have the 4 values showing as a grid. We have the arrow as the first, next is the percentage, then the actual, then the planned. Before we continue formatting, let's rename them. Just remove the sum of from all of them. Now let's go back to the format tab. Go to the value. Now before we start the values formatting, let's filter this visual to one single KPI. Let's drag the KPI to filters on this visual. And let's, for example, select revenue. So now this visual is filtered to one KPI. Let's close this. Now go back to formatting. In the values formatting, you can see that you can apply formatting for all, and you can apply formatting for each of the values. Let's apply first for all. We need to adjust the alignment. Let's make it to the right. because I want this arrow to show next to the actual percentage value. I don't want it to show far away somewhere here. Next, starting by the arrow, we don't want the label, so we'll turn off the label. So now it's only showing the arrow, and we can reduce the size to 35. Now let's select the actual percentage. Let's change the font to 30, for example. That looks better. The decimal places, we'll keep it to 1. That's enough. And for the label, we don't want to use the field. Instead, we're going to use a conditional formatting to show the date, the selected date. But to be able to show that, we need to show it in a text format, not in a date format. So let's create one measure for that. So right click on the table again, new measure, and paste. So here I use the format function. I feed in the date and I select the format. I want it to show month-year in this format. Let's hit commit. So we have the measure created. Now in the label, let's go to conditional formatting and select the field value as the measure we just created, which is date text, and click OK. So now you can see that the label is for this value is showing as the date. We can also format this label. From here, let's select the same font. Maybe we keep it at 13 and we make it bold. That looks better. So this is the first value formatted. Let's format the other two. Go to actual. Let's make the size 30. For the color, we're going to use, if it meets the planned or exceeds it, it will be green. If it's the same, it will be black. Otherwise, if it doesn't meet the planned, it will be red. And for that, we're going to use conditional formatting. We'll use rule, and we'll do it based on the actual percentage. So if it's equal or greater than 0 and less than 1 or 100%, that means it's less than the planned. It will be red. Can pick the red color. A new one. If it's equal to 1, that means equals to the planned. We'll keep it as black. And finally, if it's greater than 1 and less than, just put any big number, we'll make it green. So that's it. Click OK. We can see now, because it's bigger than the planned, it's showing as green. We'll keep the decimal places to 2 as is. We'll just fix it. And for the label, we can keep it as is. We don't need to change anything except the font. Use the same font and make it 13 also. Now finally, we select the last value, which is the planned. And for the planned, again, we'll make it 30. And the decimal place is to 2. And the label, keep it as is, except the font, we change it to the same font. And we give it the size 13. So now we have the values formatted. Actually, before we move on from the values, let's change the planned to a gray color so we distinguish between the actual and the planned. And let's make all the values underlined. This looks better. So now we're done with the formatting. For the values, let's go to reference labels. And this is where things gets interesting. So the labels is something you can add as more information to your value. It will show underneath it. Let's see how we can set this up. Again, you can apply it for any of the values. Let's apply it for the actual percentage here. Here you can add data you want to show underneath it. And for that, we're showing here the percentage for the current month. Let's show the actual percentage for the previous month as a reference label. It is the same measure we created earlier. Actual percentage, previous month. Let's just place it here. As you can see, it's showing below the data. By the way, you can add more than one reference to this value if you want to add more details and more data, but for us, it's enough to have this label. Now let's format it. Select. First, you need to select it from here and select the font. Reduce the size to 10. We change the title from field name to custom, and we just name it per month. So this is for the title. We can also format the value. You can reduce also the size to 10. Use the same font. Maybe make it bold and italic. Let's actually make the title to italic. And you can change the decimal places to 1. Now we repeat the same thing for the actual and for the planned. Just use the measures we created for previous months. So this after applying the same reference labels for the actual and the planned, but let's also here have conditional formatting for the color of the actual value by comparing it to the planned or based on the actual percentage. Just the same way we did for the current month, let's do it for the previous month. You go to the reference label, select actual, and from value, go to conditional formatting and apply the same rules based on the actual, but this time the actual percentage for the previous month. And we'll apply the same rules. So as you can see here, the rules are applied. Just click OK. And you can see now it's showing red because the actual is less than the planned for the previous month. And based on the percentage, it's 90% from the target. So the target is not met. So now we have the reference labels are applied. Go back to the top here, select all. Let's collapse this and turn off the divider. We don't want any divider. And for the layout, we'll keep it right to, so it shows right below the actual value. And for spacing, we can reduce it to, let's show it closer to the actual value. Maybe you keep it at 2, for example. That looks better. So now we have the reference labels formatted. Let's go finally to the cards. Just the same way, you can format each one separately, but for now keep them all selected. Turn off the background, turn off the borders, and if you want to add some shadows or colors, you can change it from here, but I'll keep them as is. But there is one thing I want to do here, to add 2 accent bars here, and for that I'm going to select the actual first and turn on the accent bar, but the position will be top, so it shows on top of the value, and we can change the color from here. Let's use this for example. You can also change the width. Let's keep it at 4. The same thing for the plant. We add accent bar, same color on the top and the same width. So now we're almost there. There's one more thing to do. Let's format the general appearance of the card from effect, let's turn off the background. Let's show some borders. Change the color, maybe use this color. Rounded corners, set it to 10 and activate the shadow. We'll keep it inside and use it in the center. Now it's shaping up. So now let's add the title. So turn on the title, and for the title, for the text, we're going to use the KPI name. We'll do it through conditional formatting from here, field value, and search for KPI. Here we go, KPI, click OK. So now you can see the KPI name is appearing. Maybe you can make it italic if you want, put it in the center. And also let's use conditional formatting for the background based on the actual value, if we met the target or not. Just the same, you can see now it's showing green because the actual exceeded the planned. Let's change the font color or the text color to white and make it bold, maybe a little bit bigger. So now our card is almost ready. So now we just repeat this for the other 4. We don't of course need to repeat the whole formatting, just copy and paste. Here we go, and from filters we change the KPI to profit this time. You can see everything is updated. Here we go, we have the 4 KPIs. There's one final thing to add before we set up the mobile layout. Let's add a trend line behind those cards. And for that, we're simply going to use area chart. And in the x-axis, we feed the date. Let's convert it from date hierarchy to date. In the y-axis, we're going to show the actual values. And before we format it, let's disable the interaction between the date slicer and this visual. We want always to see the entire trend history. So select the slicer, go to format, edit interaction, and use none for interaction. So now we can see all the dates or the entire history. We can now format this. Let's first apply the KPI filter. In this visual, we're going to start by revenue. So this shows only for revenue. Now let's go to format your visual. The x-axis, we turn off the title and we turn off the values. In the y-axis, we do the same. And you go to lines, make the width of the line to 0. We don't want to see any line, we just want to see an area. And you go to colors, and you can change the color from here. Let's make it, for example, gray, a bit darker. This looks better. Finally, you go to general, and you can turn off the title, and from effect, turn off the background. So now we have the first one for revenue. Let's copy this. So now let's place them behind each of the cards. This is for revenue. We'll just place it here and go to view, selection. So now let's just rename it to revenue chart and just place it behind revenue. So here we go, everyone is placed in the correct location. So we have everything ready. Now simply we can switch to mobile layout and set it up. You can either access it from view, mobile layout, or here in the corner you find the mobile layout view. Let's just click on it. So here we go. It shows a mobile screen where you can start adding the visuals. There's one thing I like to do: activate the grid lines always. I have it always activated. Also activate to snap to grid. This will help you to place your visuals properly. Now let's start placing the visuals, starting by the date. Just put it at the top here and place it. Next we start by, for example, the revenue visual. We maximize it enough to show the reference labels properly. That looks good. And we bring the chart here. We just place it behind the chart visual. And if you notice here, as you place them in the selection, it shows above the revenue. Make sure it's behind it, so drag it below it. So now it shows below it, and simply you can scroll down and add the other visuals. Here we go. We have all the cards are added. Of course, if you have more KPIs, you can add them the same way. You can switch the month. You can see how everything is changing. So everything working as expected. There's one thing I like to do here, because we have 24 months. You will find here a scroll, so you need to scroll for the other months. And in mobile view, it's really not very efficient to have a scroll inside a scroll, because the whole KPIs page is a scroll, and you have here visual, you need to scroll inside it. And I like to keep the last 3 months only showing in this visual. And to do this, we can switch back to desktop view, select the date slicer, and from filters here, expand this, select top N, and drag the date to the by value. Instead of earliest, select latest and keep it to top 3. So you can see now we only have 3 values showing, the last 3 months, which should be good enough for mobile view. Now let's switch back to mobile layout. You can see we don't have a scroll anymore, and it looks clean and easy to navigate. So we have the dashboard ready. All we need to do now is to publish it. Of course, you need to publish this to Power BI service to be able to view it in a mobile. So once you're logged in with your account, you can go back to desktop view, and from home tab you can publish this dashboard. Save, and I'll just publish it to my workspace and select. That's it, the dashboard is published. Now let's see how we can access it from your mobile device. To be able to access the dashboards from mobile, you need first to install Power BI for mobile. So go to the App Store or Play Store and then search for Power BI. Here we go. You can see here Microsoft Power BI. Of course, because I have it installed, it shows me open. If not, you need to install it and just click on open. Once you have it open, you need to make sure to log in. So click on the options here in this corner and go to settings. And here you can sign out or sign in from the account. Once you're signed in, it shows you the home page where all the dashboards are published. You can go to the workspace and search for the dashboard. We called it mobile. Here we go. We have the dashboard here. I'll just open it. So as you can see, this is the dashboard showing from mobile as expected. You can switch the dates and the data updates as expected. And that's it. We have our mobile report is ready. And there you have it, folks, a top tier executive level report to keep you on top of your game, right from the convenience of your mobile device. Simple, crystal clear, and loaded with insights. If you found a value of what we covered today, make sure to show some love, hit the like button, leave your thoughts in the comments below. New here, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you won't miss the next content, where we will be customizing this report further to be more optimized for mobile. Until next time, peace.